Hi there, folks. Снег. We're out there in the garden today with the toddler. We had a week of -10 to -12 temperatures. Not unusual for this kind of for this season, but after the warm January, this is the first really cooler week of the year. And today we had some sunny weather at sunset and decided to come out in the garden and play, and also to show you what can you do in the cold weather. Gotta play. Bro. Before it's time to start grafting, you can start prepping your rootstock for that. Let me show you some more details. Okay, so what you have here in the lower end of the plot is our row of hazels, and then the second row over there. And I wanted to graft some wild plums. All those plums are root suckers or seedlings coming from all those trees around. This is an abundant plum orchard up to about that part, which most of the grafted trees died, and then from the roots new trees, the wild plum rootstock grew. So you can see here we have 6, 7, 8, 9 stems. This is all wild plum growing after the original tree died, resprouts. So those two plants are from the same root, and down here under the grass is the original stump of the tree, which was cut several years ago, and those are the resprouts. I wanted to remove this part and leave just that one for grafting, and this is the first place where I tried to graft a few years ago, but it was not successful. And then I left this new stem grow with the idea of grafting on top of it and also on the several side branches which it develops. So now that spring is nearing, I have to start preparing, and I don't have to wait for better time, for better weather. And also all those stems, I'm just cutting them down to the soil level as low as I can, and this just will gradually exhaust this root and it start growing less and less new shoots. And also here I have to repeat that in order to not have a tree here where I want to be able to move with a small excavator or some other machinery. Even a 4-wheel cart could have a trouble passing through here, and that's why the hazel and the plum are more along that side. So for this plant, in summer I have trimmed the tips here and also here, and this is a successful graft from last year. This one didn't take, it's an almond, but now I want to continue grafting almonds on top of it. So I will graft on this branch and this one lower. So I have to prepare by trimming the pieces which I won't be needing, and then when it's time to graft, I usually don't have enough time because I want to do hundreds of grafts and the time is never enough. I won't have to spend like 15 minutes per spot cleaning and prepping each of the wild trees which I want to be grafting. So first of all, I come with the larger size pruners, loppers I think they're called, and I just trim as low as possible. If I need to go deeper, I sometimes do this motion with my foot in order to get lower. The lower you cut, the less the wild rootstock will resprout. Of course, this will take many years, but those roots are very large and extensive and resilient, and without an excavator I'll have a hard time removing that. Then I'm moving towards this one, which I want to keep, and you can see how far from the base the offshoots start. The wild plums here, they have a very strong and vigorous suckering habit, which is not always something bad, because for example if you have goats, they will love eating those new shoots. Sadly we don't yet have goats, but it's a work in progress. Now the main structure of the tree remains. You can see here that the previous unsuccessful grafting attempt, it broke off, and this is why it's a bit of a rough wound. I kept this sealed with grafting wax for a couple of years and it has healed. And now for those branches, I don't know yet the thickness of the sign wood which I'll be getting, but usually it's better to graft lower on the branch if possible, so I'll be just removing this. And also this clean fresh cut is like a signal, it's like a marker for me to know where to start grafting when I come and the time is right and I have the sign wood ready. Similar here, it's a bit of a odd angle here, but with time, if the graft takes, I will angle it away from the main stem and it won't be a problem. You can see I'm doing the cuts at an angle. Any water should be running off and not be standing on top of the cut. This here is my almond. Only one bud of the sign wood took, but it grew over 1 meter. So this will be left, and I'll see how it goes this year. It's not very well shaped, it has to be probably cut here to branch out, but we'll see. This part here I won't be needing that, so I'm just cutting that away. And then this branch here is the other spot which I'll be grafting, so I'll just make a quick trim here as well. And this is the general structure of the tree which I want to create. Several branches at different levels pointing in different directions. This is this here is south, this is north, west and east, and each of those will be grafted and start developing into a proper crown with the passing of the years. So I know it looks like a bit of a mess, but stay with me. This here was a dead black locust tree which I cut last year. Some of the understory growth which usually appears in young forest are the rose hips, and those are rose hips 1-year-old canes with the thorns on them. I'll be probably uprooting those and harvesting the root, because the roots are have medicinal value as well as the fruit. And then this almost lying on the ground tree going upwards is an elm. This one as well. And here you can see the two trees hugging, and this with the rough bark with some moss on it. That's a hawthorn, nice old hawthorn, which I started trimming a few years ago. Some dead branches, some overlapping living ones, and because of the shade here in the small forest, it grew kind of crooked and sideways towards this open spot, and most of the crown is unbalanced, and then came the weight from this elm going upwards and leaning on it. So I'll probably have to remove a part of the crown after this new very healthy and vigorous shoot, and this will be the main crown going upwards, which also needs a bit of a trim, but I can see that it's fruiting. It has still fruit up there, maybe 4 meters up. So this hawthorn is a prime material for grafting. You can graft a lot of stuff on the hawthorn, but the two best candidates, considering that it's a slow growing tree, are the queen's fruit and the medlar. This shoot here, I deliberately left that. You can see where I removed other shoots last year, here as well. This shoot is perfect for grafting, 1 or 2 scions on it. It has to be cut lower and then grafted. This shoot as well, it will go parallel to the new main crown, the new main branch, and then this shoot as well. I can't easily cut this without a chainsaw, or at least a large saw, so this will be a task for another day, but I can start shortening those so they are ready for grafting. And even if I don't manage to cut this whole section off this year, it won't impede the grafts and they will still take and grow. There is some suckering action down here which has to be removed, and in a couple of years, when those elms die of the Dutch elm disease naturally, they will have to be removed as well. And there are all the brothers here. You can see this is the stump of the one which I cut last year. Then this one next to it, it's already starting to die off. You probably won't see that in the video, but up here you can see the bark peeling off those topmost branches. So I'm closely monitoring which one are dying, if they start to leaf out in spring or not. So not much work here, just a couple of cuts, but I still be making them. So that I'm prepared. Maybe the day when I come grafting, I won't have my large pruners with me. And I usually always try to do my best, just spreading the work. Oh, this is so much entangled up there that I can't remove this branch. We'll just leave it and wait until it's dry and brittle, and then it will be much easier to get down. So spreading the work, especially in the down times, is very beneficial because it allows you to have more time and be more calm and decide when there's no pressure to be in a rush. I'm cutting that as well, yes, and that stump as well. So if I'm here with a bunch of sandwood and I'm just looking frantically around where to start grafting, I'll probably be losing a whole day of just wandering around and trying to decide which goes where. And that way, now that I have done some prep, I have not only marked the trees but saved precious time when the time is really at a premium. So we cleaned up a spot in the microforest the other week. I'll probably add a photo of the place before and after. And I'm walking towards that spot now. I wanted to show you something interesting as an ending to that short movie. Here I am. So this great tangle of stumps is a very interesting example on two counts. First of all, this whole thing here, easily 1 meter across, is two trees growing from the same spot. The original tree here was a plum, which afterwards died, and then it regrew from the stump, and this older piece, which is now hollow and an ant colony inside, you can see the cracks on the bark, and it's dead up to the very top, and it goes in that direction. That tree will be probably cut off this spring, but from the same root it regrew again, and it grew those stems, maybe 4 or 5 stems. Each of those stems is a separate stem which fused together because they grew like multiple root suckers very close together, in very close proximity. And that was maybe, looking at the branch which I cut maybe 30 years ago, maybe a bit more. And at some point there was a root sucker of an elm tree which came from probably somewhere around that direction, because those are also young elm trees root suckering, and it grew directly in the root mass of the plum tree. Or it maybe came from down there, I'm not very sure, but in any way it grew here as if from the very same root, even though it's a separate plant and a very different species. And on multiple spots all along that, you can see that this plum has cracked. I have removed this dead branch, and I'll have to continue removing, but all here and upwards at this spot right here, and then even higher, it's as if the trees are hugging. And you can see up here in the middle, you can see how the bark is peeled on the two trees and they are fused together. This type of fusing usually does not happen interspecific. It's plum with plum, so this is a more rare sight to see. I'll try to zoom in a bit. This type of behavior is called in botany ablactation. It has no connection to the lactation of the mammals, and it means natural fusing of two branches of different trees. And this, folks, is the original way to graft in nature. And I think that at least my theory is that our ancestors witnessed that happening in nature and decided to mimic that behavior. And at first they started grafting by simple ablactation, just pressing the two branches together and tightening them with a rope or something until they fuse. And now we have developed many more practices and ways of grafting, but I will try to keep that as an example here in the microforest in our garden for as long as possible, even though that elm will certainly not live long, because this is a great reminder of the natural processes which inspire our work. So my advice to you is to not waste any precious time, and even in winter, go out, mark out your trees, or at least spot them, decide in advance where you're going to graft, do some preparation if possible, do some trim, do some maintenance, clear up some stuff which will be in the way. You can even tie some colorful ties like a rope or something on the branches to make it easier for you to remember where you wanted to graft, and when it's time to do the actual grafting, focus on that and you have better success. As usual, any questions you may have about grafting, plant propagation, orcharding, anything related to nature, let me know in the comments. It's sunset now, and I'll be going inside for a warm tea and to greet the kids which will be coming from school very soon. See you in the next one, folks.